Okay, we are going to look at curtain walls in Revit 2016. This is going to be a little bit of a longer video, so you might want to go grab your coffee and get comfortable. There are a couple ways to do curtain wall systems in Revit. So the first way is with the wall tool. And so when you click wall, if you scroll all the way down to the very bottom, you'll see several different curtain wall options. The second way, back up to the architecture tab, is to do a curtain system by face. And to do this requires a mass underlay. You can kind of see here the preview it shows you. So you do a mass underlay and then you actually apply the curtain wall system to one of the faces of that mass and it creates one. So it's really great for organic shapes and unusual shapes. But for our use for this particular house, we're going to use the regular curtain wall, and the one that I've selected is the Storefront VS, which is the one that came with this project. So just like any regular wall tool, all you have to do is go ahead and if I go into modify here, I've got lots of different options for how to draw this wall, just like a regular wall. I can also use my pick lines tool, so you guys have seen me use that before in another video. If I can just try to find one that's continuous. It doesn't look like there's necessarily is one, but I could use one like that. The other thing I can do is just use, I believe the arc for this starts around here somewhere. I can use an arc to draw my curtain wall here. And so what's going to happen with the curtain wall is it's going to make the divisions and create the necessary divisions for the curtain wall. So this is not exactly accurate, but I think that's fine. We're going to just look at it in 3D. So there's our little segment of curtain wall, and obviously I would need to draw a straight piece in the back and continue on around the bottom floor. But what we're going to do is look at how to create these types of curtain walls, because this one already had all that information in it. So if we look at, there are a lot of different options for material properties and instance properties, I'm sorry, when you first look at the properties pane over here. Just a ton of different stuff. It's a lot more complicated than your doors and walls and stuff. So we have a vertical grid and horizontal grid justifications, and these are the main things to look at. The rest of the stuff, I mean, is some of its reporting parameters, like how long the wall is or what the area is and things like that. You want to set the levels so that the levels are accurate. And those are the big things to watch out for in the instance properties. But once I hit edit type, you'll see that there are a lot more options here too. I've got exterior versus interior versus et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, different wall functions. And then I have the option to automatically embed this wall. So this is useful when you're doing infill panels. So let's say that you've got a large area of concrete, for instance, and then you have a smaller inset piece of glass. The curtain wall panel can be automatically embedded in that just by drawing it on top of the existing wall. It'll cut out the existing wall and make a hole for that curtain wall to go in. This is the standard curtain panel that comes with the wall. Every single one is different. Sometimes it's an empty panel, sometimes it's glazed, sometimes it's whatever. You can pick any type of curtain panel that you have loaded in the project, and interestingly too, you can pick any type of wall that you already have loaded in the project. So I could actually infill this curtain wall with a brick wall if I wanted to. So there would be mullions and then little brick walls of whatever thickness are in the properties for that wall. So sometimes it can be a quick kind of cheater way to make infill panels. Instead of going in and modeling them as a new family, you can go and make a new wall type that's a 1/4 inch thin and make it copper panel, for instance, and make it an infill. So lots of different options there. Your join condition, this is going to be how your mullions, and so if you're not familiar with that term, the mullions are the vertical and horizontal metal pieces that go across and hold the glass in. So you have the option to make one of those or both of them, etc., continuous. So this is going to be which ones are cut when they overlap. And generally what I like to choose are, it really depends on the design of your project, but if you don't really know for sure, I tend to pick the border and vertical grids as my continuous grids and then have my horizontals cut, because that's what I see generally speaking when I'm working on projects. So then the next thing to choose is your vertical grid. So you have the option for like a maximum spacing or a fixed distance or a fixed number. So all of these different things are really great because they'll do some of the math for you and make everything nice and even. With fixed distance, obviously they're going to be let's say 5 feet apart if you specify 5 feet. And there might be one left over that's, if the math doesn't work out perfectly, that's a small pane. For the fixed number, it's going to do the math and divide whatever your length of wall is into that many segments. For maximum spacing, it's okay, well, these things can be smaller. They need to be equal. They can be smaller, but you can also make them, up to this maximum, and the same thing with minimum. And you can play around with those, and it's going to be really obvious. So here, the specification was that it's a maximum spacing of 11 and 13/16. This was a metric project that I converted, so however 15 centimeters or whatever it is. So that's the deal with that, is just to make it a maximum of that thickness. And then whether or not you adjust those panels to include or not include the mullion size. Same thing with the horizontals. So if you need to have horizontals, and then you have the option for specifying what type of mullion you want. Now the Revit standard mullions that come in are just the first 4, 5 you see here, so none, which will give you it'll give you a line that divides those glass panels, but it won't give you any modeled component in between them. So this is a good way to show like silicone joints where the glass meets itself and there's nothing holding it up, like a Pilkington system, for instance, where the structure is behind. And then you have circular and rectangular mullions of various sizes. Your borders are interesting because Revit comes with a lot more. They come with corner type options. And then there's a trapezoid and even a V-shaped corner mullion. So you pick all of your mullion types for every single one of these conditions, and then you hit OK, and that makes your storefront. So it's really, really useful. And what's great is that there are storefront manufacturers like Conair who have already made all their storefront systems, and all you have to do is go to their website or Autodesk Seek, download the particular system that you're specifying for your project and use them. And that's really great academically as well, because those look very realistic relative to just if you're a student and you're not familiar with curtain wall systems, trying to estimate what a curtain system might look like. Now I'm going to go off to the side here, and I'm going to make another curtain wall because I want to show you there's also Curtain Wall 1, which is my favorite curtain wall tool, and probably, in my opinion, the most useful one because it's essentially a blank slate. So if I select Curtain Wall 1 and I draw it, all it's going to give me is a piece of glass. So let's take a look at this save right now, in 3D as well. So here's my plain piece of glass, and I have the option to go in here and change spacing and add things and specify my mullions. And I am going to specify mullions really quickly. I'm just going to do these 1.5 by 2.5 rectangles. But what I'm going to do in this case is not actually specify any standard grid pattern. I'm going to leave it completely blank. Okay. And I should duplicate this while I'm doing this actually and call this something like Curtain Wall 2. That works for me, just as a best practice. So I'm going to hit OK. And it's given me it looks like it's given me some boundary mullions, and that's it. You can see them, they're white. But what's really cool is that I can go in, and if I hit escape a few times to exit that command, there's an option up here for curtain grid. So if I select this, I can hover over and I can add in curtain grids manually anywhere I want. So this is really great when you're doing storefront and you have maybe a 3-foot tall initial, grid, and then you have nothing above it. So go in there and add it. And the way that you add these curtain grids is by hovering over a perpendicular edge of your project, or hovering over a perpendicular existing curtain grid. So I can do that like this, and I can just click and add wherever I want. If it's unbalanced or whatever. But the other thing I can do is I can add only one segment. So I can come up here when I'm in my curtain grid tool, and instead of having all segments, I can say one segment. And wherever I hover over it, just adds the one segment. So that's really useful for when you're creating the top header for a door opening, for instance. And then you can also do all except pick. So maybe I want them all here except for on the inside of this one. And so it'll make them all except for the picked one. Looks like there's some kind of error that just, oh, there we go. It doesn't seem like it worked in that particular case, but it's really easy to remove them as well. So what I can do is I hover over the existing curtain grid, and you're going to have to tab to find that curtain grid. It's going to show up as a blue dashed line here. So I can click on that, and then a tool pops up that says add or remove segments, and I can click on that and remove my segments, and they'll go away. So that, again, is really useful for making a door. And I will have to do a separate video about doors and curtain walls. But then what I can do is I can go in here and I can, again, click my panel, and I can change it from a glazed panel to a solid one. I can change it to an empty one if I want to. Or I can go in and add in any wall type. As I said, you can put in a brick wall. So let's go find a brick wall. Find a big old chunky brick wall. There you go. I mean, it's not beautiful. Certainly doesn't make a whole lot of logical sense, but you can certainly do it, and there are uses for that. And there aren't really, if I go into component, here I go into insert load family. There are curtain wall panels that are here. They have the empty glaze and solid ones. We have curtain by panel. Okay, these are mass-based curtain wall panels. And you can, it's very easy to model your own, and I hope to do a tutorial on how to model your own panels. And I would like to also show you guys, actually I think I've got a little bit of time. Let's see if I can really quickly show you how to load these panels. So if you go into your insert tab and go to load family, under doors you're going to see the curtain wall doors. I think they might be under, oh, here they are. So the first one's here. So I'm going to hit single glass curtain wall and hit open. As I said, you don't use the door, I think I said this in the last one, you don't use the door command to infill curtain wall doors. You load them like a door. They're under door in your Imperial library, but you actually do them by hovering over your panel, selecting it, and then it's actually an infill panel type once you've loaded it into your project. So here it is way down here, curtain wall single. Makes a massive, massive door. Here it is. And depending on what the door looks like, it'll come in with a frame, and it just really depends on what you've loaded in. So let's see if we can find another one here. Doors. Let's do this double storefront one and see if this will work. So the other thing you have to note is if you're using a different wall type and you can't select or change the panels, the reason might be because they're pinned in place. So most of these other, there you go. So most of these other curtain wall options that you have, the storefront one, et cetera, these guys down here, they have something set up. Oh, excuse me. They already have their grid set up. So they've been pinned in place and everything. And so if you want to delete a mullion, for instance, to just expose the glass, and like see in this case it's pinned, I had to unpin it. So I can do that with the hotkey P in, or just by clicking the pin icon, and then I can remove it, and I've got just my joint. So no, that's a long video. Thanks for sticking with me, and we'll look at some custom curtain panels at some point. Thanks for watching.